I have to admit, I did not think that this was possible. Researchers have found a new path towards resurrecting extinct animals. Now, we have heard about this and been let down before, like dire wolves, which are not, in fact, dire wolves. They are just wolves who have some dog genes as well as some dire wolf genes. Yes, they look probably like what dire wolves looked like, but they're still just wolves. More recently, Colossal Biosciences has announced that they're going to resurrect the mammoth, and this one is a little bit more reasonable. So, if you look at a mammoth versus an Asiatic elephant, they have 99% similar DNA. So, you give them some of the genes, like being woolly, you get an Asian elephant that looks like a woolly mammoth. Just to put this in perspective, imagine a chimpanzee and a person. A chimpanzee shares 98.9% of the same genes, so we're pretty darn similar. You could make a hairless chimpanzee, and then you could even insert some genes for things like speech and brain formation. You could have a very smart, human-like chimpanzee. And to an alien species, yeah, we brought back people. But there are other options. Now, one of the big problems with cloning is that we don't always have a complete genome. We may have part of a genome. We may even have chromosomes from different individuals. This research group found that you could put those chromosomes inside of living mice. In this case, they took cryopreserved rat cells, and then they took out one of their chromosomes. They then cloned that chromosome into mouse stem cells. And then, rather than trying to make a whole mouse with an extra chromosome, which would have some problems, they put it into a fetal mouse. So they created mosaic mice where some of the cells now have a rat chromosome in them, and it was functional. Meaning, the chromosome did not just disappear from the cells, it participated, and this could be hugely valuable for assembling genomes and understanding what genomes do. Now, having an extra chromosome is problematic. It may even be more problematic to delete whole chromosomes and then just add in another from another animal. So that isn't always reasonable, the idea that we could replace an entire genome, although, yeah, sure, it's possible. What this does is gives us a way to study the chromosomes inside of an animal. So we could just take a chromosome and we can look at all the genes and all the sequences, and we can make an educated guess on what they do based on genes in animals that are alive today. But this allows us to directly study it. We can also determine what is active, what is necessary. So when we are assembling a chromosome for an animal, we have a much better idea of what needs to be in there. This is a step in the right direction towards resurrecting extinct animals, and it's simpler than cloning, sort of, depending on how simple you think cloning is. But those creatures could live on in a mouse in a lab somewhere. That in itself is pretty extraordinary. When it comes to other animals, like say the dodo bird, it is a little bit more complicated because we do not have intact cells from them. We have lots of DNA from things like Neanderthals, although I don't think cloning them is ethical, as well as things like mammoths. So the best we can do for a lot of animals is take their closest living cousins, the pigeon, and try to breed them towards looking like a dodo bird, which I would also argue is probably not terribly ethical. Now there is another area where researchers are trying to resurrect the biology of the past, and for some reason I find this one a little bit unsettling. Here, they're taking sequences from ancient DNA, from the oldest parts of our genomes, and using that to make antimicrobials. After all, one of the first things that life had to figure out is how to fight off other life. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Now, microbial resistance is a big issue for medicine and all of us, and we have to continuously come up with new ideas to fight off pathogenic bacteria. So why not look at some of the oldest mechanisms that we use to fight them and harness that? And that is the idea here. Bacteria divide very quickly. Think like every half hour. In that, they have to adjust to the environment for which they're in. It is unlikely that they would have resistance to an antimicrobial they met 400 million years ago. But we could still assemble the genes for it and make something that they have not had to touch in, millions of years. I don't know if this is genius or it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If we're talking about the arms race, let's go back to some of the most basic arms we ever had. I mean, in human biology, our most basic defense mechanism is inflammation, and I guess inflammation still works okay. Bacteria, to this day, still do not like being really hot. I mean, it is quite a bit more complicated than that, and I really do not want to go into the signaling cascade, and somehow I think you guys don't want that either. So I will ask you this. Do you think it's ethical to bring back extinct animals, or do you think we should be focusing all of our effort on preserving the ones that are already here? Because I am on the fence for that. I mean, even if we brought back a woolly mammoth in full, we would not be able to take care of it in a way that it would deserve. I think the same could be said for cloning things like Neanderthals, but fortunately that's not really on the table. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will keep you up to date. Follow for more.